Okay, once you've gathered a lot of reference, that is 10 megapixels or larger, I grab mine from the site Pixabay, where the images are curated and they are all Creative Commons open. So I don't have to worry even about transforming them. But the whole goal is to transform them into my own vision. So I've put them into my reference folder. Now we're going to use the operating system of the Macintosh to become our design board. So what I want you to do is, in the folder, view it with the icon view like this, then go to the gear and go to View Options. Make your icon size large enough so you can see everything on the same computer screen, and shrink your grid spacing, and then arrange them by name, just so they all clean up. And then you can fit them into any size you need. So I'm going to use this size. I just want to be able to see every image. Okay, so the way you do that is you've brought your images into a folder. So I'll make a new folder here, really quickly show you. And then I'll just make some copies of these, move them in. So your folder has stuff in it. The first thing, because this will be a helpful tool for our projects, it's like arranging your reference around your drafting table at home, or around where you're painting. So instead of viewing them in a list view or in any of these other views, you want the icon view, which is in the toolbar at the top of the folder window. Then you want to click on the gear, and then say Show View Options, all with left click. View options allow you to enlarge the icon size without having to open them in a program. And then you can also shrink the spacing between them, so that it's basically like having them on a bulletin board where you can see them clearly enough without having to open them in a program. So I did that with my references. I have way more than 5 references here. Now I take my sketchbook. I'm going to move my sketchbook over here, right? In fact, I will even float it out. So I think I have the tool I want. So I can just sketch now while looking at my shots. So for my sketches, for my landscape, let's start with a horizontal composition. So I don't fill up a page. Some of you are going to do that even though I'm telling you right now. Don't fill up a page of your sketchbook. Do not use the shape of your sketchbook page as the determining factor to what the format is of your landscape. Instead, draw the contained shape. So this is like a widescreen movie. That will be my landscape format one. That's wider than it is tall. Yours can be shorter than this, but it needs to be a box that you draw ahead of time and determine. Okay, now what am I thinking? Okay, I'm looking at my reference. I know I want some of these high mountains in the back. So I want maybe roughly this mountain here in this corner. So I'm going to mark that with a color. This will be my horizontal, and my horizontal references will be green. So this is number 1. And then I can change, this is being really organized, but it's helpful, especially when you have lots of references. So I'm going to put a 1 in front of that. In fact, I might change the whole name to just 1. Right? And then because they're organized by name, that goes right up to the top. 1 green. Okay, what else do I need? Well, it might be really nice to kind of layer on top of that, or maybe on the other side have another kind of high mountain that's a little more middle ground. I like this one. So I'm going to make this 2. Mark it green. And then just sketch that in. So that's going to take up space. I'm thinking kind of overlapping like this. You can be sloppy. And fill out the rest of the background here. So that's 2. Okay, now let's get some foreground elements, like the water tower. And the water tower is a little, maybe it's kind of too on the nose. Let's see. Yeah, I like the water tower. But I'm going to put something in front of it. So I'm going to put the water tower maybe right here, off of center. I can label it. This is going to be 3, but I can label it water tower. That's what they're called, right? Water towers? It's kind of a weird name. They're not towers, and they're not made of water.
They're towers full.
They are. All right. So now I see that I have kind of a ground plane here, but I don't want to use the buildings in the background that are already behind it. So I need to think, well, what's behind that and what transitions? Well, I'm going to want these. They're called Dolomites. I guess this kind of geological structure is called Dolomite. So I want these sharp rocks to come into the foreground here. And it's very helpful in your landscape to think foreground, middle ground, background. So the foreground is the rocks. They're coming in from the sides. The water tower is the middle ground. That's the thing that's going to be in focus. So in this picture, the rocks are the foreground, these trees are the middle ground, the mountains are the background. That's called 3 layers of depth. And it gives your eye a lot to engage with, and it helps you place other things in there. So rocks number 4. And mark it green. All right. So now what's the thing that can kind of bring these all together? I think there's parts of this I can use, though the lighting's weird. Maybe there's something that has a vantage point kind of like that. Do I want water in there? I don't think so. Not this design necessarily. This is awesome, but it has the people in it. But I really like this. So I might try to use this as middle ground. So let's just do it that way. I'll kind of draw it in here. And I'll say ground fill. Mid-ground fill. So you see how my sketches get really sloppy, but I understand completely what they mean when I'm comparing them to my reference. So that's 5 references, right? There would be more that I use, but this is passable for right now, right? This would get me started. This would be what I need for next class. What things might I add? Well, I would use clouds and ice and storms and all this other stuff to make it all work together. But these are the main components I need. The main 5 components. Now, I need to do the whole thing again, but this time based on a vertical composition. And I'm using a tablet, and I'm not drawing particularly straight. Doesn't matter. I will show you how we work that all out when we start compositing. I might want to use the exact same components. In fact, I'm going to challenge myself to do that. But I'm going to arrange them differently. So this time I'm going to put that water tower front and center. Right there. So I'm going to have it be number 3. But this is going to be all red. My red vertical composition. So ones that I use in both places, I'm going to add the color. I'm going to add both colors. Now around that water tower, I want something in the foreground, but I don't want the rocks. Maybe I want these ice cubes or this little ice flow. So that's going to be my foreground element that kind of overlaps. Notice I'm just drawing and overlapping. That's going to be number 1. So this will be 1 red. If I just called it 1, it wouldn't let me because there's already a 1. But 1 red, there we go. And now I have a bunch of foreground elements. I want something pretty dramatic for the middle ground. So I'm thinking, let's see, what can I build from? Water tower here, that can build. I'm going to try to use this little middle ground piece. So 2 red. And there's not even a whole lot to draw there, but I know I'm going to have these little middle ground mountains and then this land. So I'm going to call that mid ground. And that's 2. So the notes are really important. So you know what you were thinking when we come back next class. And now I need some high mountains in the background, and I want something that looks really far away. These look really far away. Really interesting, so everything's going to be happening. And then I'll add a sky. So this is going to be number 4, 4 red, and you start to see, okay, these are the ones that I'm getting excited about, right? So background mountains, that's 4. And now I want the really stormy sky, maybe with this nice lighting behind it, that dusk lighting. So that will be 5 red. And who knows, maybe I'll use that same sky in my horizontal. But we're going to choose which one we use next class. I don't even want you to have a favorite yet. I just want you to make yourself go through this. Okay, now I am done. I've done my sketch. I've collected my reference. I will no doubt need more reference to finish it off, but these are the components that will get me started next class. The goal next class will be to open up a Photoshop file that's large enough to print that is based on one of our sketches. So we'll have our sketch in there. It will be the vague background layer, just like your reference for your shape composition. And then we'll bring in these large format references and start shaping them and placing them, just like we did with the cartoon jumble. All right. That'll